when people describe themselves finding their passions, they might describe themselves as becoming hooked. And for me, that moment came when I was 10 years old, the first time I set foot in a sailboat. I was instantly hooked. For once, everything was under my control. It was my speed, my course, my movement. It was all my responsibility. So since then, I pursued the sport with a voracious appetite. I've gobbled up every bit of knowledge and experience that I could come across. And now I've reached the point at which I can pass my experience on to others, which has been the most rewarding part of my sailing career. Seeing the ability of sailing to empower kids is truly incredible. Over the course of 2-week sessions, I watched kids of all ages and all experiences gain self-confidence, make new friends, and develop new abilities that they thought they might never have had before. Seeing the ability of sailing to empower the individual is truly incredible. Meet Deborah. Deborah recently became a grandmother. She's also a below-the-knee amputee. I met Deborah this past summer at a sailing center in Chicago. Deborah wanted to learn how to sail, and I was going to be her instructor. First, sailing was a pretty scary experience for her because obviously moving around the boat is a little difficult considering her situation. But I'll get back to the story of Deborah in a second. First, let me explain some things. So, sailing is a sport that lends itself to a lot of misconceptions. That it's not hard, that it doesn't take a lot of skill, it's not that athletic. And really, that couldn't be further from the truth. So let me break it down. The fundamental concept behind sailboat racing is that boats cannot sail directly into the wind. So in order to circumvent this constraint, boats have to zigzag if they want to reach a point upwind of them, usually about 10 or 15 degrees off the wind direction on either side. So in a typical sailboat race, boats zigzag upwind to a buoy, or we call the mark, go around it, and then sail back downwind. In order to start the race, boats jockey for position on what's known as the starting line, which is an imaginary line drawn between another mark and a boat full of race officials. A timer is set to start the starting sequence, and the goal is by the time the time reaches 0, boats will cross the starting line at full speed at the optimal position for the race ahead. And the race ahead is where it gets interesting. This is where tactics and strategy come in. Sailors have to know when to zig and when to zag, and that depends on a variety of factors. It could be small changes in the wind direction, different wind speeds in different parts of the course, and the positioning of other boats, all of which determine who will eventually win the race. Even the best sailors in the world are constantly learning and developing their own ideas and thoughts about these tactics. But the hard part about learning how to sail isn't the racing element, but boat control. Even the kids I teach, and kids are some of the smartest and fastest learners around us, still take weeks to develop even a rudimentary understanding of boat control. Watching these frustrations develop and guiding kids to come to their own discoveries about what works and what won't is a key aspect of sailing's tendency to lend itself to self-discovery and independence. So, why is sailing difficult? Why is the boat control so difficult? Well, it comes down to 2 factors, steering and wind. First off is steering. Steering is totally opposite in a sailboat. When a sailor turns the tiller, which is connected to the rudder, which sticks in the water behind the boat, the tiller's pushed one way, and the boat goes the other way. This sounds pretty simple, but it's actually really difficult to get the hang of. And also, just like in a car or on a bike, the boat has to be moving in order for the boat to turn. And moving is where the second part comes in, the wind. And the wind, in order for a boat to move, the sail must be pulled in at the optimal point to the direction of the wind. If a boat's close to the wind, the sail has to be pulled in or trimmed in all the way. In this case, the sail acts similar to an airplane wing on its side. It generates lift, and the boat moves forward in the water. As the sailboat turns away from the wind, the sail is gradually eased out till the point of downwind, where the sail's all the way out and acts more like a parachute or a trash bag, catching the wind and pulling the boat along. Linking these 2 concepts together is an extremely steep learning curve, but having conquered the ability to apply them in tandem is something that allots itself to a huge amount of reward and satisfaction. Now, sailing is often thought of as not a very physical sport, and that couldn't be further from the truth. In dinghy racing, sailors have to use their body weight to augment steering to counteract the forces of sail. They have to use their hands to pull the sail in and out and jump across the boat to execute maneuvers. In America's Cup sailing, Grand Prix racing, sailors heart speed at 186 beats per minute during races, and they have to follow a 6-to-1 training to rest ratio in order to prepare themselves for the boats. So at the end of 2 weeks, I waved different kids off. Kids who were at first nervous and shy now find themselves comfortable around me and their peers. Kids who are often unsure about asking questions and asserting themselves now find themselves asserting their own opinions about what they think. And remember Deborah? So after teaching Deborah how to sail, we sailed a regatta together in Chicago. A regatta is a series of races that count together towards a final score. And we actually won the entire thing. Over a short period of time, I watched Deborah move around the boat with assurance and voice her own opinion about the race. Now she's gone on to love sailing and continue her sailing career. Recently, she sailed a regatta in Florida and got second place there, which is a huge achievement for her. Seeing such repeated personal change over a short amount of time is a key testament to sailing's ability to empower the individual. Thank you.